Hello, we are group 9 Monday lab. So we are starting our project demonstration. So here left side is a server and right side is a client. So we will first start with server. Server have argument port number on which the RTSP request will come, and similarly client have some arguments. The first argument is IP address of the server. In this case it is the same machine, so we are using localhost. The second argument is port number of the server, which is 9999. Third argument is RTP port. RTP port is we have assumed 50,000. Then there is a file which we want to run on. There is a video which we want to run. That file's path. So we will start with the server. So I have started the server, and server is now waiting for a connection from client. So now I will start the client launcher, and I started client launcher. We can see a GUI prompt. So we will understand this by the code. So first we started the server. Server will create a socket first. After binding it with its port, then it will listen the number of client it can connect with a time. Then it is waiting here for client's connection. So then we ran the client launcher. Client launcher have these arguments. Then this is tkinter for the GUI interface that we used. Then client launcher is calling the client. So client file is here. In this client file we have some initialization, some more initialization here, and then init function is calling connect to the server to connect to the our server which we are running now. So connect to the server is here. It is again creating a socket and connecting to that server. Now connection is established. So let us move further. Let us push this setup button. So I have pushed the setup button. We can see here that client has sent the setup request to the server, and setup has received the same setup request, and it is processing that setup. So let us understand by the code. First, client uses this create widgets. Create widgets is used for adding buttons to the GUI. Now we have set up play, pause, and tear down buttons. So we have pushed the setup button. It will run setup movie function. Setup movie function is here, and it is sending a RTSP request to the server. That we have seen here that it is sending a RTSP request to the server. So send RTSP request function is here. What it is doing is first it is creating a thread and for receiving RTSP reply from the server. So both will run simultaneously. When the server will send the reply to the client, it will receive it and process further. So but while sending the RTSP request, first we are initializing RTSP sequence with 1. Then we are creating the request. So this string is exactly the string which I have shown here. Setup or file name, then sequence number, and then version, and so on. So we created that string and we sent it on our created socket in bytes format. So server will now receive it. Client will then send the data to the server. In the server side, we have called the server worker file. So server worker file is here. Server worker is also doing some initialization. After that, it is running receive RTSP request, because it have to receive request from the client. So receive RTSP request is waiting for receiving data. So we just send data by pressing setup button. So it will be collected here, and the data received will be shown here. So in this case we have shown the same data which the client sent. Now we have Now the server worker have received a request, so it have to process that request. We have received the setup request, so if request type is self.setup, we will go into it, and first we will update the state. We have state, first it was initial state, now we are in ready state. To ready state, it will also make a video stream class object, which is here. Video stream will do nothing, but it will just open that file which we want to play on the client side. So it has now opened, so setup is done, and now file is ready to play. Again we have to set some variables like session id. Session id is randomly generated over this range. Then we have to reply the client that request was successfully received, so we are sending OK 200, and also we are taking RTP port from the request and storing for further purposes. Here RTP port is 50,000, which will be stored at the RTP port on the server side, and server have to reply the client's request, so it will call reply RTSP function. So reply RTSP function is here. In the reply RTSP function, we are making a string OK 200, indicating that request have successfully received and processed. So RTSP 1.0 200 OK string has made, and it is sent to the client. After replying that successfully, after replying, the setup has done, file was opened at the server side. Now we will play the video. So we have played the video. Pause. Okay. First, at the client, we push the play button, so it sent the request, similar request like setup, and similarly the server received that play request. Then server sent the data sequence wise, and client also received the data sequence wise. Sequence number is updating every time. Then we pause the video, so client sent the pause request, and server also received the pause request, and it processed the pause request. So we will now understand with the code. So first client played the play button, so it called the play movie. Play movie made a thread, and run the function listen RTP. So listen RTP is here. Listen RTP will wait for the RTP packets or wait for the video packets to receive. When the video packet is received, then it will process onto it. So first we will see send RTSP request. So this time we are calling send RTSP request with play button. So play will increase the sequence number, then it will make similar sequence, similar string like setup string, and then at the then it will send it to the server. At the server side, when we receive the string of play request, on the server side, when we receive the string of play request, it will process RTSP request with play request. Then here we are first changing the state. We are making socket to transfer RTP packet. First we had made RTSP socket just to control the buttons like setup, play, pause or tear down. But now we are making RTP socket. This RTP socket is to exchange the video packets, RTP packets. Okay, so then it will make a reply RTSP just saying that request was correctly received. Then the important part is play will send RTP. Now we are talking about RTP request is, so RTP request server side, it have to send the RTP packets to the client in terms of video packets. So it will just wait for some time, and it will check whether the video is paused or not. If it is not paused, then we will read the next frame. Next frame is shown in video stream. It will just read the next frame of the video, and reading the next frame and updating the frame number, we will send it to the client which was requesting for that frame. So we send to function will send it to that client, but before that we have to make that RTP packet, and here the function make RTP comes. The function make RTP will make a header and payload together and make our RTP packet. So make RTP packet will use RTP packet class. So RTP packet class is here. RTP packet have two things. One is header and other is payload. So payload we have read the next frame, that is our payload, but we have to make a header. We have to make a header for RTP packet. So RTP packet have different RTP packets have different fields. So we are calling encode function here, and encode function here is encoding all these things into header plus payload format and making the packet to be sent. So this packet will be sent here, and the server will send it to the client. When client will run listen RTP, a RTP packet was sent by the server, and listen RTP will receive that packet. This is RTP packet initialization. It will decode that encoded RTP packet which is here. It will separate out header and payload. Then we will update current frame number and update movie in that GUI interface, which frame we just read or just received. The pause button. So now see the pause button. It is just similar to setup. So first pause was called the pause movie function. Pause movie function send RTSP request, and send RTSP request same updated the RTSP sequence number, then created a string which is here, this string, and after creating this string it sent it to the server. Server worker received that string, and after receiving that string it processed that string of pause request, and pause request was processed here. The state was changed from playing to ready because video is no more playing now, it is paused, and now we are stopping the thread. So we use this function. We are creating reply that request was successfully received. Now we have paused the video, so let us again play the video for some time. So video is working fine. Now we will tear down it to complete the connection. So I am pressing tear down, and GUI has gone. Client has sent the request tear down to the server, and server is processing tear down. So in the code it is just similar to the setup or pause button. So tear down is again increasing a sequence number, then it is creating a string to share, and it is sending that string in the byte format to the server. Server worker will process that string in tear down. So tear down is here. It will just pause this that thread which was running, and make reply that this request was received successfully, and it will close the socket. It will close the RTP socket which was used for sending video packets. It will not close the RTSP.